Hi there, it's Rob from Octopus. Welcome to Octopus Deploy 2019.10. This is a big release and I'm excited to share it with you. Our headline feature is Tentacle for Linux, which unlocks Linux deployments to the most secure environments. But there are lots of other great features to talk about, including built-in PowerShell Core support and early access to our Operations Runbooks feature. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. I have an Octopus Cloud instance with a single project called Random Quotes, but I'd like to head over to our infrastructure to take a look at what's new. In this space, I have two environments, staging and production. And you can see I also have two deployment targets, and I also have a custom worker pool for database deployments and a single worker there as well. If we head over to our environment, and I'll expand that out, you can see I have two Ubuntu web servers. In staging, I have a single Linux deployment target, and I'm connecting to it via SSH. In production, I also have a single Linux deployment target, but I'm connecting to it as it's running our Tentacle for Linux. Octopus has long supported deploying applications to Linux via SSH, and it's common for teams to connect to dev, test, or even production infrastructure via SSH. However, some companies operate in highly secured environments where it's not possible to open port 22 on their production servers. An example of this is where web applications operate in their own DMZs with no incoming connections permitted other than HTTPS for web traffic. Thankfully, this scenario is now possible with Tentacle for Linux. Our Tentacle agent is a lightweight service that enables secure communication between the Octopus server and deployment targets in listening and polling modes. In polling mode, the targets themselves phone home and contact the Octopus server to see if there's any deployment work to do, and if there is, it executes it. Tentacle was previously only available for Windows, but now it's also available for Linux. So now that we've taken a look at our infrastructure, let's head over to our project. Random Quotes is a simple web application with an ASP.NET Core frontend and using SQL Server as its database. If we take a look at its deployment process, you can see it's quite simple. The first step is a simple bash script that runs on a Linux worker that simply executes a SQL script to update our database. The second step is a little bit more interesting. It's a deploy to NGINX built-in step that is relatively new. And so if we take a look at it, this step makes it more straightforward to deploy web apps to NGINX and eliminates a lot of the manual steps required. That said, it's still possible to script the process manually if you need full control. If we take a look at our step configuration, the first thing you see is that we're deploying to our Linux web servers. And if you remember back to our infrastructure, that's both of our deployment targets. You can see we're deploying our Random Quotes package, and we're customizing a few of the features of this step. One of the features we're utilizing is JSON configuration variable replacement. So we're updating our app settings with variable settings we've defined in our project. We have different variable values for our host name and different bindings and things like that. Another thing that we're doing is we have custom deployment scripts enabled. This is a bash script to configure and launch our .NET web application. And I won't look at it here, but it is available in our docs, and I'll include a link in the description below. Finally, we have some configuration to customize NGINX. First thing we're doing is configuring the NGINX virtual server, and we're specifying our host name. We also have a single binding just for HTTP, and we're specifying the port again as a variable. Finally, you can see that we're configuring the virtual server locations. We've configured a reverse proxy to redirect all traffic to our web application that's running on localhost on port 5000. And that's it for our configuration. So we can now go ahead and deploy our latest release, which has some fixes. It's important to note that I can deploy this release seamlessly to two different Linux deployment targets, one via SSH and one running Tentacle for Linux. So let's go and do that now. So as you can see, both of our deployments were successful. So now we can go ahead and look at our web applications. So I go to staging first, we can see that it has been deployed and we can get some great random quotes. And you can also see we do have variable substitution specifying the version and the environment. So now if we go to production, we can see the correct version was deployed as well. And if I refresh, I also see some new random quotes. There's two other features that I'd like to highlight. So I'm going to head over to our new operations area within a project. This release also includes early access to our Runbooks for Operations team feature set. Octopus is primarily used as a deployment automation tool, but once the software is deployed, there are other processes that teams need to automate. This can include file cleanup, nightly backups, data masking, restoring databases to test environments, disaster recovery, and other scripts and manual processes. With Runbooks, teams can use Octopus to automate everything involved in keeping modern software running in production, and even other environments. I currently have a single runbook called Cleanup Ubuntu Server, and it's going to clean up some files on any Ubuntu server related to the APT package manager. So if I jump into this, here we can see the runbook details. And before we look at these, I just want to be clear that this feature still is in progress and the screens may change. So one important thing, if you have any feedback on how this feature suits your team, please let us know either on Twitter or our Slack, etc. You can find links in the description below. This page shows us an overview of the runs, our runbook process, and any settings. We'll jump into the process. And what you can see is that this is similar to a deployment process, but it's more specialized for operations tasks. This is a simple file cleanup runbook. So we're going to jump into this script and take a look. So you can see it's a PowerShell script just to clean up the APT package manager cache and orphan dependencies, etc. You might notice that this is a PowerShell script that's going to be run on Ubuntu boxes. This is leveraging our new built-in PowerShell Core support. I have PowerShell Core installed on all my Ubuntu boxes. This allows me to pick the scripting language that suits me best. If I have a lot of PowerShell scripting experience, I can now leverage that when executing scripts on Linux without any workarounds. So now I have the choice of running PowerShell, Bash, or even Python on my Linux servers. So beyond the PowerShell support, this script step is still as powerful as one that you would use in a deployment process. So if I jump back to the main menu, let's run this on one of our servers. So now all I do is I click Run On. Now I select my environment and we do have some advanced options, but for now I'm just going to select this. I'll click Run and it's executing on my server. And it ran successfully. So that's it. There are a few more notable features in this release, so I encourage you to read the full blog post. Today, we've seen Tentacle for Linux and how it enables us to deploy to highly secured Linux environments. We saw our built-in PowerShell Core support and how it allows us to run scripts on our platform of choice. And finally, we took a look at our Operations Runbooks feature. Together, these features allow teams to release, deploy, and operate their software. Thanks for watching. Links for all the resources used in this video are in the description below, including a link to start a free trial of Octopus Deploy. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as we're adding new videos weekly. Happy deployments!